Hey, y'all, welcome back to another video. You know what time it is. First things first, thank y'all for the love in the recent videos. I sincerely appreciate it. It's only been a few days, doing really well. I'm very happy. I got few different things here for y'all. Before we even get into this one, first things first, I've been talking a lot about that Beyonce Lemonade review, and I still have that coming. I've been listening to that album nonstop. I'm not going to give any spoilers right now. It will be coming in the next following days, so just be ready for that. And I also have another review idea in the books right now that I'm going to talk to y'all later in this video about. But let's get into it. Today I'm going to be ranking 4 rappers' discographies. So the 4 rappers, you're going to find them out, of course, but I have them all listed down here and reasons why their rankings are blank out of 10. First things first, we are going to start with J. Cole. J. Cole, I have his at a 9.2 out of 10. And the reason why I had J. Cole's at a 9.2 out of 10 is simply because J. Cole has had a very consistent career starting off even when he was making mixtapes in his mixtape era where he had Friday Night Lights, The Warm Up, Sideline Story, things like that, where he was able to make a name for himself. And I really do enjoy those projects still to this day. But his early album run, chef's kiss. Born Sinner, amazing commercial success when it first came out, and a lot of the songs still hold up to this day. Then you get into his magnum opus, a lot of people say, with 2014 Forest Hills Drive. Came out 2014, obviously he did it for a reason, and also it's like his street address back when he was growing up. His best album by far to this day, in my opinion. I genuinely still think that's his best album to this day. I revisit it all the time. A lot of fun to listen to. It showed J. Cole's intelligence as a rapper at a very early time of his career, where he wasn't really even known for that. Of course he could rap. He was always a great rapper, but it was never oh, he's really a smart, intelligent person. And that's when that became a thing during this time period. Up next, he dropped For Your Eyes Only, which was one of his more polarizing albums at the time. When it first came out, people did not really rock with this. This was a 3-year hiatus, I believe. It came out either 2017 or late 2016, because I remember it came out in December. When I heard it, I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. It's a great album. It's probably one of my... It's hard to pick between my favorite J. Cole album, whether it's 2014 Forest Hills Drives or For Your Eyes Only. I still think 2014 Forest Hills Drive is his best album, but the one that I enjoy more, harder to come up with an answer for, to be honest. And there was a lot of hate for it because songs like Folding Clothes, which I understand the hate for that song, it's really bad and corny, but it still makes me smile when I hear it because he sounds so happy. He sounds so happy in the song. And he has songs like Neighbors too, which could be portrayed as corny, but it actually is just a really good song to me. Very good emotional songs in this album as well. But after this is when it starts to go a little downhill for him. I'm not saying at all that the music got bad. I just think that a lot of his stuff after this got a lot more unremarkable. He hasn't had moments like that since he's dropped that album. And to be honest, I think his best project since then was what came out this year, The Fall Off. I think The Fall Off is his best project that he's had since For Your Eyes Only, when it comes to actual staying power and me wanting to revisit it a lot. But after that was KOD, which is not a bad album by any means. It's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. It had a song like Kevin's Heart, which ended up doing hella numbers. It did very well, but just didn't stick for me as much as other albums did. But there was an obvious theme there, and I'm happy that he went for that theme. Revenge of the Dreamers 3 really had it was in the mix in 2019. I was on that. I really liked that album a lot when it came out. I didn't listen to the Revenge of the Dreamers 3 Director's Cup, so I don't know what that is. The Off Season didn't stand for that much to me. It's a good album. I'm not at all saying it's bad, but it didn't have as much staying power for me, just like I said before about KOD. My Life was the song that really got out off the ground with this. There was also other songs on here like Pride is the Devil and things like that, but it didn't really stick at the time for me. He had Might Delete Later, which has some of his worst work on it, in my opinion. I'm not saying it he's a bad rapper. Hunting Wabbits is still a good song, but he has... I think he actually took it off of there. Yeah, 7 Minute Drill. 7 Minute Drill is not available to be listened to anymore, but that's probably one of the worst diss songs of all time. And because it was very middling, he wasn't even really his heart wasn't in it, and he didn't believe what he was saying. You could tell he didn't believe what he was saying. He was just responding because people around him were telling him to respond. But after these albums came out, he proceeded to have some of his better like singles runs. I believe Johnny P's Caddy came out after that album. I believe he had Clouds come out after that album. Port Antonio came out after that album. So he was showing that he's still able to make great songs. And he's always been a really good like album but also single musician. He always drops really great singles when he has the opportunity to, but he didn't really have good album work for me, at least when it came to like Staying Power until The Fall Off. I still listen to The Fall Off basically every day. It is an amazing album. My favorite song on here, Poor Thing, is such a really like it's such a fun album, but such a fun song, but Safety is probably my favorite. It's top 3 J. Cole album for sure. Would be third because it's so hard to get over those other two, but it is a good return to grace for J. Cole. Unfortunately, he's been talking a lot about retiring and shit, which is tough to see because I'm a big fan of him. Not even like retiring, he's been saying like he's not as inspired to rap, or like this chapter of his like career is over or something, which I don't really understand. But you know, people are different, and sometimes I respect that more than somebody forcing themselves to continue making music just because they're popular and making money. I'd rather you just be like, you know what, I don't really have the motor to do this anymore. I don't have the motivation to continue making this music because at the end of the day, it's not there for me anymore. Up next, I have Kanye West. And as a child, this was my favorite rapper. Him and Lil Wayne were the two people that I listened to the most. Of course, I listened to other people, but from the age of like 6 to 17, 18, 19, like basically most of my life I have been a Kanye West fan. Some might even argue a stan at some point. Not right now, of course, or like not when I got older, but when I was younger, I was for sure more inclined to argue with people about it because 2000s Kanye just didn't miss. That whole college dropout, late registration, graduation, like 3 album run, they're all 10 out of 10s and all have considerable like arguments for being top 20 rap albums of all time. Genuinely speaking, my favorite, I think I've spoken over this before, but my favorite is Late Registration, but they all are in consideration for it. That's how fucking good of an artist he was in his prime. And it's crazy to see what he's became now, but we can continue to talk about that later. After that run, he was able to drop albums like 808s and Heartbreak, which I can recognize as not fully for me, but it is one of the most influential albums ever. And it has great songs on it as well. But when it comes to creating another era of rappers through an album, that's what Kanye did with that for sure. He had My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy after that, which is arguably one of my, like, I'm lower on that album than most people. People call it a 10 out of 10. I simply don't. I think there's a lot of lows on it that people don't tend to recognize, but I just have a very high standard for Kanye albums. I have a high standard for everybody on this list. I'm being honest. The lowest standard I probably have is J. Cole because I like he's always going to be a good rapper. It just depends on how much it stays for me. Some of these artists that I have or that I'm going to do in the future, if I continue to do this series, which I probably will, they have considerable dips. And Kanye is one of these people with considerable dips. Like, after that, he had Yeezus, which is one of the albums that I actually grew on me a lot over time. When I first heard that album, I thought it was an average 5, 6 out of 10. A little bit of highlights, but overall, I just didn't rock with it as much. Now, at my current time, I think it's better than My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I do. I genuinely enjoy it more. Then he had The Life of Pablo, which has lows for sure. It has lowlights without a doubt. And this is kind of the beginning of the like era of Kanye where he started dropping unfinished music or like music that he shouldn't really have dropped on an album, but it still had a lot of highs. Some of Kanye's best music is on The Life of Pablo. And then after this, it gets kind of nasty. People might like Jesus is King. I'm not really a fan of that genre of music. All due respect to it, and I hope whoever likes it a lot. You know what I mean? I think Ye is a good, return to grace from Kanye. There's a lot of highlights on that, and it's a very short and concise album, which I think fits what he wants to do or what he should be doing at this current point of his career. Just focus on the highs because there's going to be a lot of lows when you're Kanye West. Speaking of lows, this is during a time where everything he says is very fucking polarizing. 2016 is when it started. He came out as like a Trump supporter, hanging out with Trump and everything. It continued to get worse and worse and worse, and it was getting harder to defend this man. And I know I should not be defending somebody I don't know, but at the time I was a young man, like, and this was something I grew up with. His music and him as a musician is something I grew up with, and I found myself enamored and connected with. So of course I'm going to defend it to at least some degree. That stopped when he said slavery was a choice, and then I'm so disconnected to everything he does at this point. I like people continuously ask me, especially like close friends or like even some family, they might ask me, oh yeah, did you listen to the new Kanye, blah blah blah. No, not, oh, that new Kanye, I'm not interested to listen to it. I'm really not. But during this time period, it was also some of the worst music he's dropped. Donda, I think it has very high highs again. And this is kind of the story for Kanye. He has moments of brilliance in some of his albums, even recently. But then he also has these times where he literally sounds like he should never go behind a microphone ever again in his life. Why the hell are you doing and then dropping that? You cannot find lyrics. That is just filler noise. And you know that is because if you've ever heard a reference track by Kanye, you know that he does that when he doesn't know what words to put into that part of the song yet. So why are we releasing that? Why are we doing that? One of the worst examples of this is 530, because that song could have been great, and then it just devolved into him being a maniac in not a good way. Speaking of that song, the albums themselves, when it comes to Donda, I gave it like a 7.5 when it first came out, and I think it's still around that, probably a little lower, because it's so oversaturated. And that's the thing I was just mentioning earlier. You don't need a 20-song album. You don't need 23 songs. You don't need part twos to songs, because every song should just have one part, because that one part should be the best version the song can ever have. You could, like, this isn't a movie. You're not dropping sequels. Stop. Speaking of sequels, Vultures 1 and Vultures 2, both terrible songs. Both terrible albums, I'm sorry. The only thing that stuck was Carnival, and that's because of a surprise feature by somebody like Playboy Cardi, which had his fan base really enamored by it, and it ended up like catching a lot of, streaming hype and everything like that. But the album itself was terrible. He's not a bad producer by any means. I don't think he's a bad producer. I think sometimes he does too much with his production and it becomes like corny. Especially nowadays, some of his production gets a little corny because he tries to make it like this current era. And I think the best Kanye production is of the 2000s era, when he was producing things like Common's album or like Alicia Keys songs, things like that. Like when he was in that pocket of using like soul samples and things like that, that's the best Kanye pocket possible. Now everything he does, it kind of just sounds like a Travis Scott song. And I've spoken about this before. I'm not really high on Travis Scott this current time in my life. But yeah, I can't put it lower, because the beginning was just so perfect. Chef's kiss, man. Like it was just, I can't in my heart be like, yeah, it's an 8 because of 2 albums or 3 albums. Like, no. And this is the artist where I was saying I might have another album reaction for y'all. I have not listened to Bully, and I got a comment where somebody said that Bully is really good. I don't believe it. But if y'all want to see me react to Bully, I can definitely do that just after the Beyonce one, because y'all need a positive one just in case I get a little too negative on that one, because I hold him, regardless to any of his recent stuff, I am going to hold you to your standard. That is one thing a lot of fan bases don't understand. I don't care how long you've been doing music. If you shown me you can be great, keep being great. This is not basketball. You are not going to get worse over time. If you were getting worse at rapping over time, I think you should stop. If you're getting worse at writing music over time, you should stop. Because obviously there was something helping you at the beginning, and you don't have it anymore. If you don't have it anymore, then call it off. That's how I feel. So I'm always going to hold them to that exact standard that they were at when they first came on, regardless of anything. But I do give Kanye West discography at 9.6 out of 10. And to start off my last two, first up, I got Kendrick Lamar. I said very early on, like overly dedicated in Section 8 definitely set the tone for what to expect from Kendrick Lamar. But at the end of the day, they're not his best work. I think Section 80 is very good. Overly dedicated has its moments, but they are not even close to what comes after. So I have to dock some points because he showed literally in every album he's dropped since that he's consistently a way better artist than what he showed at the beginning. Starting off with, you know what? I'm gonna start off with T-Pab because I feel like there's a lot of contention when it comes to these two albums. I feel like there's a lot of people who have debatable arguments when it comes to these two albums. T-Pab and of course, you know what I mean? Of course, Good Kid, Mad City. Those are the two that you have to understand. People consistently have these issues with. And what I mean is, first things first, T-Pab was not considered a top 100 album by Apple Music. But Good Kid, Mad City was, and I believe it was in the top 10. So once you see stuff like that, and this is coming from a person who thinks that T-Pab is better, I don't have much anger with it because of course it's Apple Music. It's not a real, like, it's not some shit I really should ever care about because it's Apple Music. But also at the end of the day, it's my opinion. Like, T-Pab is such a beautiful incorporation of like jazz instrumentation and also just real shit. And this is the stuff I love when it comes to people who actually care about music and their craft. He's consistently for his entire career had the ability to rap about real shit and it does not feel repetitive. Like, he's rapped about him growing up in Compton on multiple separate albums at this point and has not felt repetitive. Good Kid, Mad City, I think, is the peak of his storytelling of him growing up in Compton. I also think that Damn is a really weird way for him to do it. And it's weird in a good way because the different types of vocalization and just the different production overall of that album leads to such a different feeling. And when it ends with a song that's so typical for Kendrick, like a Duckworth, and where you listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, this is what the whole thing is about basically, and it's also just about growth overall. You start to think, how the fuck is he this good at this shit? And this is not glaze. It's just like when you realize that somebody like their whole life is this shit, low key. Kendrick Lamar in his first, like, I will say GNX is the lowest, is his worst album other than like Overly Dedicated. Him and Section 80 are kind of fighting, but it's not a bad thing. GNX is like an 8.5 out of 10 to me. 8.5, 8.7, like upper 8s out of 10. It's just that he has 4 10 out of 10s. Let me repeat that because I think people aren't really understanding that. He has 4 10 out of 10 albums. To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City, Damn, and Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I understand it is a longer album. That is one of my bigger gripes. So it's definitely the lower end of the top of the 10 out of 10s. But the way that he's able to attack every inch of the subject matter within what he's going for, and he gives you such a cohesive yet like underlining effect, if you know what I mean. Like, it's obvious, but he doesn't say, yeah, you know, he mentions it, but he's not like, yeah, this album's about me dealing with stuff and, you know, bringing my family back together. Like, he don't say it to you, but he's saying it to you. You know what I mean? And he does it in a lot of really creative ways. Like, We Cry Together is something that people made into a meme because, of course, it is a very memeable song, but it is a very creative way to depict what he was going through at this time and how he was reactive to things because he wasn't taking responsibility for his faults. And I made a whole video about this. I'm not doing this again. Go check that joint out. It's a little older, but check it the fuck out. Has some of his best performances as well. Count Me Out is one of my favorite rap songs of all time, period. One of these lives I'll make them. Let me not do it. Let me chill. Let me relax. For real though, but yeah, man, I think they're all 10 out of 10s. I think T-Pab is one of the most impactful albums of all time when it comes to just subject matter and the way that he's able to make one of the craziest sounding albums of all time be so easily listenable. Like, anybody who's saying they cannot listen to that type of album, I just think they didn't try. Like he didn't put it on. He has very powerful, like emotional performances, but the moment I heard Wesley Sturgis for the first time, I was like, wow, this shit is not normal. Like this is not a normal person. This isn't Glaze. It's just like that's not a normal person that makes music that way. There's just no way. One of the big gripes I have with him is the fact that he had such a low, like, he has such like a low, like working. I wouldn't say work ethic. I'd say like he just didn't put out a lot of work, and he went on a very long hiatus of solo work, specifically from 2017 to 2021 or 2022, whenever Mr. Morale dropped. But during that time period, he didn't drop any solo acts really. He had a few songs. He was on songs with, let me think, with Baby Keem. He did the Black Panther soundtrack, but other than that, he didn't really go on anything. He didn't do much. So that's one of my big gripes. But like, what negative thing can I say about To Pimp a Butterfly? What negative thing can I say about Good Kid, Mad City? I made a whole fucking video on one song from Good Kid, Mad City. Yeah, a whole fucking video. Let me check how long that video is. Obviously, Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. That is the song I picked. But man, like, how long was that video I made? Because the song's 7 minutes. I don't even think I did Dying of Thirst part. I think I only did the Sing About Me part, because there's so much to dissect in a song where he's like talking about all these different. Oh my god, I can't. I'm not doing it again. I made the video. I'm not doing it again. Shit. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst video. It's 10 minutes long. I had to edit a lot. I didn't want to edit again. I used to do song reviews a lot more, like deep dives. I don't do those anymore, just because I stopped enjoying it as much. But overall, for a discography rating, I'm giving him a 9.5 out of 10. The reason why the 0.5 is down is because of lack of work. If he had more work, then yes, he'd inevitably be higher, because that initial 4, amazing, is just that 2017 to 2022 run of nothing kind of hurts to see as a big fan of his. And last but not least, y'all know who it is. The guy that apparently all y'all love and y'all think he makes nothing but great music. I got Drake here. And his discography starts out great. You know, So Far Gone, Take Care, Nothing Was the Same, If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, and Views. Those are all great albums to me. I would name I'd only say 1 or 2 or 10 out of 10s. Take Care has fallen down a bit for me as of late. I think that If You're Reading This, Is Too Late is debatably a 10, and Nothing Was the Same is his best piece of work in my opinion. But those are all consistently 8.5 pluses out of 10 to me. Then it just gets bad. And I'm being genuinely serious. This is coming as somebody who went into all these albums with an open mind, and I did not come in here saying, oh yeah, I think these suck, I think they're trash, and I don't think Drake ever is going to make another good song ever, a good album ever again. I did not come in with this mindset to any of these albums. Let me name them all. Let me tell you what I know my internal rating is, because I've listened to them multiple times because I wanted them to be good. I wanted them to be good. That's how much of a fan I was at one point. I wanted these albums to be good. More Life, 7 out of 10. And it has great songs. Like, you know, Passion Fruit's a great song. I used to really enjoy Teenage Fever. It's KMT is a very weird song to me, but it's too long. This is when it became a problem. He has 22 songs on something he called a playlist, not even an album. But there's not that many things that stuck for me, to be honest. After that, he dropped Scorpion, which I think is the worst piece of work I think he's ever dropped, other than what he did recently. This is the most boring, like, emotionless, like, when he dropped this and I sat down and listened to it, I went like this. I couldn't say a word. And I remember some people were telling me I'm tripping. This is a 2-disc album. I can tell you right now. Nice for what? Decent, I guess. Like, it got really annoying. In My Feelings, I guess. March 14th, I guess he put Michael Jackson on the song. That shit was bad. I'm sorry. And I love Michael Jackson. That shit was bad. Let me see what else. Sandra's Rose. I'm Upset. God's Plan. Non-stop. I'm sorry. I think this album has the biggest collection of the worst Drake hits of all time. Non-stop sucks. God's Plan is not a good rap song. I'm happy about what he did in the music video where it was giving back to people, but I don't think it's a good rap song in any way, shape, or form. And that was even before it became overplayed to me. But, oh my God, it's the most boring fucking album to me. And that's crazy to say because I spent an hour and 30 minutes listening to an album that has 25 songs just to come out of it bored as fuck. Then there's Dark Lane demo tapes. Nothing stuck for me other than like Chicago Freestyle. Pain 1983 sucked. I hated that fucking song. I hated that shit. Certified Lover Boy, I guess it grew on me kinda. Champagne Poetry's alright. TSU's a really weird fucking song. Fair Trade's okay. Girls Want Girls not good to me. Way Too Sexy's a horrible song. No Friends in the Industry is alright. But 21 songs. You could take some of these off the fucking album, man. You can take some of them off the album. Honestly, never mind worst shit he's ever dropped. And I understand people say, oh, it's a different genre. He shouldn't have done it. He's not good in other genres. And this is my whole argument, and I've made this argument so many times. I'm not even going to speak on his most recent albums, just so y'all know. But this album right here was a 0 out of 10. Certified Lover Boy, for me, is a 6. Dark Lane Demo Tapes is a 4. Care Package doesn't count because it's old Drake music, so of course a lot of it's going to be really good. Scorpion was a 3 out of 10. I fucking hate that album. Her Loss. Let's see if I remember any of these songs. Major Distribution. Rich Flex. I hate that shit. Oh my god. Spin About You. My god. 5 out of 10. Just fucking garbage. I'm sorry. It's just garbage. Oh my god. For All the Dogs. 4 out of 10. Some Sexy Songs for You. 3 out of 10. Literally only one song on this shit stuck. I'm sorry. Only one song on this stuck. Only one. And then, of course, y'all know how I feel with the last 3, so I'm not even going to mention that shit. But this is coming from somebody, like I always mention, who was a huge fucking fan. I used to love his music. I can't sit here and lie to myself when I hear bad stuff. It fucking sucks. And I overall give his discography an 8 out of 10 because the early stuff, there's a lot of it, and it's not bad. It's very good. And 2016 and, like, prior, pumping out great music all the time, having some of the best, like, he had the best rise of any artist ever when it comes to just popularity, and like the way that he was able to take his situation as a rapper and just build on it continuously every time. The fact that he was able to team up with Future and then make What a Time to Be Alive, and that album overall, in my opinion, is extremely overrated in a lot of ways. But when it first came out, I don't know what it was. That shit worked for everybody on the earth. And then he went on the run where everything actually sounded good, so it worked with everybody. And I think that's what made him lose it, because he was like, oh, it's working for everybody, so, I can drop whatever I want and everyone's gonna love it. No. That shit's killed, gang. But 8 out of 10 is still really respectable. And I know when I do another one of these episodes, there's going to be a worse rating. I give Views an 8 out of 10. I give What a Time to Be Alive for its time probably an 8 out of 10. Like I said before, If You're Reading This Too Late is a 10. Nothing Was the Same is a 10. Take Care is a 9. Thank Me Later is like an 8.8 for me. So Far Gone. Oh my god, I even mentioned that one, did I? So Far Gone is probably an 8.8 as well. I love that album, man. It was a lot of fun. And early Drake, like he's aged, and you can tell when his music aged, and it's kind of cool to see how it sticks to every single era that he's been in. Like that early Drake music sounds like 2009 music, whereas like other artists, they don't change as much as he does, so it's kind of hard to like experience them differently. You could tell me that you could tell anybody, you could tell somebody who has never listened to music before, you could play 3 different Drake songs from 3 separate eras of like 10-year periods, and they would not know it's the same artist every time. But yeah, Thank y'all for tuning into another video. You know what it is. You know what it be. You know what it always will be. I love y'all. I will see y'all once again very soon. Let me know if y'all want to see me react to Bully. Because apparently it's great. And I've heard okay things about it. But I'm just so fucking disillusioned by that shit at this point. Let me know if y'all wanted me to listen to it. See y'all next time.